A family's Christmas decorations nearly caused one man a heart attack.
Mister, please hold on. All right. Can you reach it? Can you reach it?
The man in Austin, Texas thought this dummy was a real person. Nest cam video shows the man rush over, grab a ladder, and call for help. He even called 911. The family put up the dummy to pay homage to a Christmas scene from a movie right there.
The Griswolds, right?
You know, Christmas Vacation. And they are trying to find the man to give him a gift because they say his heart was in the right place. Now, he felt it.
Oh, no.
He said, can you reach it? Can you reach it?
He's trying to be a good Samaritan there. It's making me cry, my goodness.
You want him around if you were stuck on the roof one day. Can you reach it?
All right, well, we are hoping to reach temperatures like we saw yesterday. It was nice and warm, spring-like yesterday. Let's check in with the meteorologist.
It was cold. That's an old video clip, Austin. Good morning, Pineapple City. Yippee-ki-yay. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Kwanzaa's fake. I think Kwanzaa originated in the United States. Somebody check my facts. I think somebody was like, oh, it's an African holiday. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not right. I think it actually started in like San Francisco with like the Black Liberation Movement. And then they like exported it back to Africa. Africa's like, what? Could you please just send us some food? Send us some food. We don't need your stupid American religion. Can you please build water? Build water mill. Show us how to build bridge. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Drew Van Runkle, Jimmy Joe Patty, my sweet, sexy, smoking hot wifey, Steffi for Liberty in the chat. She's working so hard behind the scenes. She's making all your Christmas cards. Do you know what Austin Peterson is doing? He's calling everybody on the phone that he can to talk to him about Liberty and what we're doing next year for 2026. And let me tell you what, there are some generous people out there. People like Drew Van Runkle, Nelson65. This show doesn't happen without people like them. Kim McCurry, who's already unlocked the bonus content, she got up way early. Now, normally the way we unlock the bonus content, Freedom Family, is that we, during the live show, any purchases that are made during the live show count towards unlocking the bonus content. But today we're going to bend the rules a little because I know Kim wanted to. She went and bought a bunch of that sweet, sweet Founding Flavors coffee. She's going to freaking love it. If she hasn't had it already, I don't know if you've tried it yet already, Kim, but it's stinking delicious. It's like a mad scientist's laboratory over here in my kitchen now. Steffi's like all these coffee tools and implements, and it's just like, and she cleans them all. God bless you, Stephanie. If I haven't told you enough, I appreciate you. She does a lot to make it happen. Brad Beckman does a lot to make it happen, but I couldn't have had a successful year without people like Jimmy Joe Patty buying the Rebel Revere roast, without people like Nelson65 who showed up to set up the cameras for the live stream back when I was in the downtown studio. What would I do without people like that? But what would I do without my Kim McCurrys or our Andy Oppermans? God bless Andy Opperman, because he has like built a pillar, a cornerstone of the For Liberty Network exists because of Andy Opperman. People who are on our side. If you're out there in the chat and you're on our side, just give me a banned American flag, an AP for Liberty, AP DC Liberty tour. What? God bless America this year. Did we not fight for liberty this year? Did Steffi and I step up? Did we take the fight to the next level? Hell yeah, we did. We may have been responsible for why the White House cracked down on the Smithsonian Museum, because they banned our flag when we took people to DC. We led a Liberty tour this year to Washington, D.C., a small group of American patriots. I joined the Sons of the American Revolution. I've been getting active in my community. I've been volunteering, stepping up. And I plan to do even more next year. I plan to make 2026 the best year for liberty yet. The Petersons are at the tip of the spear. And thank you. And God bless you. And thank you so much to everyone who has stepped in. Even if you just click the like button, if you're Tiny Tim and you can, if you have to cut a bean for Christmas this year, please, sir, could I have a tiny bean? Just let's hope that the ghost of Christmas future won't be scary ghost stories, tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. And we'll make this Christmas a great Christmas, even if it's a tough year economically, even if it's a tough year financially. If you love what Austin and Stephanie are doing and you're not donating as a monthly sponsor, or, you're not getting a family Christmas card this year yet, maybe next year, we'll make it better next year. But even if you're just clicking like, if you're watching the show, there's so many people who lurk in the background. Steffi and I, we went out to eat last week when we went to the Living Windows, and some guy stopped us and was like, Austin Peterson, he's like, please don't think this is weird, but can I take a picture with you? And I'm just like, oh yeah, life on the D list, baby. Life on the D list. This is what it feels like. I'm not living large, but I feel like I'm in charge, and I promise next year to renew my devotion to the cause of liberty, to advance these ideas, to do it in a pragmatic way, to be that guy. This is when I make my calls, because I'm calling everybody I can to try and get as many people signed up to be a part of our inner circle, our Peterson's Patriots, $17.76 a month program. What I like to say is that I am the libertarian that you take home to meet your mother. The one that you'd be like, you wouldn't be afraid to introduce to your family. I'm sure I'm a little weird, but somebody, I think it was Missy, she called me, I have to hit the applause button and the laughter button again, because she called me a normie libertarian, and I was like partially offended, but also, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Normal libertarians, I don't know. What does that even mean? Can you be normal and be a libertarian? I don't know. I think you have to have a little bit of a freak flag, and maybe just my freak flag you don't see, because I believe in privacy as a libertarian, so mind your business. Don't tread on me. Fugio, Upon a Burning Nation says, if you own a 2007 to 2013 Chevrolet Silverado, Tahoe, or Suburban, you can put the module in the center of the dash, just under the radio, that holds your GPS star tracking. It's a simple removal. Well, can you please not stomp all over my lines here, Upon a Burning Nation? Can you just hold up a second? Because I'm going to get there. I'm just ranting and reminding everyone how grateful we are that people like yourself are here. And if I tease you and I roast you, please just go with it. Everybody gets roasted here. David Spade's speaking up for Christmas. Who would have thunk?
I saw the other day there was a tree lighting ceremony for the Christmas tree in some dopey mall. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But it said tree lighting ceremony, and they were careful not to say the word Christmas during the whole ceremony.
No.
I'm like, why? Why can't? So it's just a tree, and you go, I would understand if you said they're doing the tree lighting at the Grove or whatever. You go, okay. Mm-hmm. We're taking a beating down in Africa. It's like, this is not the year to be Christian. I will tell you that. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
A lot of that is tough. So let's go back to the tree. We can call it a Christmas tree. I'm still going to go to these malls.
I knew it. David Spade. I knew it. You know why? Because he always kind of struck me as an egghead, a little bit more of a thoughtful person. And then the other side of the things was that I wanted to say that David Spade liked one of my posts on Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah, this is why people like to take pictures with me at Eris's Pizza in downtown Jefferson City. We're at 48 degrees Fahrenheit because Austin sometimes gets likes from celebrities on his Instagram. That's what he's famous for. Is that what you're going to say he was famous for? Second place for the Libertarian nomination, a failure of a U.S. Senate candidate as a Republican. Is that what we're going to go down as? I don't think so. I think that the best years are ahead. Even for people who say Merry Christmas, and even for people who say Merry Christmas and defend Merry Christmas who aren't even Christians, like me. Merry Christmas. God bless us, everyone. It's a strange, strange understanding that I have of the world. But hopefully you tuning in, beaming into my brain, that I can make myself clear to you and you can get it. And maybe even agree. Maybe even agree a lot. It's nice to see everybody here, all of my rebels, my dissidents, everybody currently driving a car that doesn't have a federal agent sitting in the passenger seat yet. So do you know where you were last night at 8 p.m.? Do you? Do you know where you were this morning? Do you know where you drove this morning? Because the governor of California wants to know where you were driving. The governor of Oregon wants to know. And if they get their way, they aren't just going to know. They're going to send you a bill for it. Welcome to the spy by mile era. For 100 years. Yeah, I know. For 100 years, we had a deal. You buy gas, you pay a tax, you drive on the road. It was anonymous. It was simple. The gas pump didn't ask you if you were going to church or to a protest or to a strip club. It just dispensed fuel. And if I had to guess who would go to a strip club, if you had to guess out of the top 3 Rumble commenters right now, between Nelson and Drew Van Runkle and Thormock, which one is going to the strip club, which one's going to church, and which one's going to a protest? Cast your ballots in the chat. Which one's going to which? Drew, we know you're going to the strip club. Don't even lie. So we would get our gasoline and our fuel. We paid our tax at the pump. But the bureaucrats looked at the system and said, you know what I hate about this? I don't know where the peasants are going. So today we're ripping the lid off a new multi-state pact to replace. They say replace. Do they mean replace? Do they ever effing replace? But they say replace the gas tax with a mandatory GPS mileage tracker. They call it a user fee, right? I call it an ankle monitor for the Honda Civic. So we're going to break down this privacy nightmare, the economics of this, and the terrifying possibility of surge pricing for your morning commute. And speaking of surge pricing, check your grocery receipts. Have you noticed that the price of eggs seems to change depending on who is looking at them? Well, a bombshell report dropped this week about Instacart. It turns out that your neighbor might be paying $3 for peanut butter while you're paying $4.50 for the exact same jar from the exact same store at the exact same time. So the price tag, they say, at least reports the New York Times, is dead. The algorithm is now deciding how much you can afford to pay. Is this gouging? Is this late-stage capitalism dystopia, the kind that would drive Luigi Mangione insane and into a murderous rage, and to turn even Republicans and conservatives, right-wingers against capitalism? We'll talk to Joel Berry about that later. From the Babylon Bee. Judge Napolitano's on the show today. It's going to be a freaking great show. Oh, it's going to be so good. But the algorithm isn't the only thing watching you. The deep state is watching too. And right now they are panicking. We have leaks coming out of the State Department regarding that Venezuela boat strike. We have bureaucrats shredding files before the Trump transition team can find them. So can the president actually fire these people, or are they protected by a force field of civil service laws? Judge Andrew Napolitano, the legend himself, will be here at 8 a.m. Central Time, 40 minutes from now. And he's going to talk to us a little bit about the Supreme Court Trump versus Slaughter case at SCOTUS. It's a big one. So this decides if the fourth branch of government lives or dies. So potentially some good news in the new year. And then in the 8:30 block, we have to look in the mirror. The left is authoritarian. We know that. They want to ban your car, censor your speech, track your calories. But there is a new movement on the right, the post-liberal right, that says, hey, maybe we should have a little Marxism ourselves. Maybe we should abandon the Constitution and just wield power. Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee is stopping by. We're going to ask the hard questions. Are we becoming the very thing we swore to destroy? It'll be a fascinating conversation about the soul of the movement. One of the top chiefs over there at the Babylon Bee will be joining us live at 8:30 a.m. And someone, and I won't say who, but you know who you are, bought a pallet of Founding Flavors coffee this morning, which means that the meter is full. Phase 1 bonus content, like a rocket, is officially unlocked. That's right. Because of your support, we're going to be releasing the exclusive mini documentary, 5-minute mini documentary that we produce in a Lego style, which people freaking love, man. People are, I talk to people about the show and they're like, I love the Legos. I like the Legos, Austin. I'm 5 years old. Shut up, Austin. Don't you roast the people who love you. I roast the more I roast you, the more I love you. Camellia will tell you this. It's true. Because I love Camellia so much from the bottom of my heart. She is such a dear friend. And I just roast the absolute out of her. I'm a little stinker. I'm a little stinker. Steffi asks me all the time. She's like, I don't get it. You were raised as such a good boy. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm a bad man now. I'm a bad boy now. Because girls like bad boys. I'm the bad boy with a heart of gold. Or maybe I was just playing the whole time. Maybe I was always that sweet boy from Peculiar, Missouri. Went to Ray-Peck High School, graduated in 1999, went to Missouri State University for musical theater, then ran for president. Maybe I'm just that guy, baby. Maybe I'm the sweet First Baptist Church of Raymond choir boy, and I always have been. We got the judge, we got the bee, we've got GPS trackers and the secret grocery prices. They want to watch your every move. Fine, let's give them something to watch. Let's take it off, baby. I'm a bad boy. What do you think you're going to do? All right, so here we go. So if you drive a car in America, look at your dashboard. Look at the odometer. Right now, that number is yours. It's the private record of your life. It tells you how far you've gone, but it doesn't tell anyone where you've gone. I mean, you could have driven 10,000 miles to work and back. You could have driven 10,000 miles touring through the national parks. You could have driven 10,000 miles while organizing a political revolution or building a libertarian network. We were going to see Brian Piotr from Liberty Tonight. Tonight at 7 p.m. Central tonight, we're going to do a live taping with an audience of dozens. Next year will be bigger. AP is actually a super lib, but his acting skills are that good. No! So the government doesn't know where you have gone yet. And for 100 years, this deal that we had was simple. The government didn't get to know. You pulled up to the pump, you paid your federal gas tax, 18.4 cents. You paid the state tax, maybe 50 cents in California. You filled up and you drove away. So anonymity, freedom, cash for pavement, right? But that deal is being shredded right in front of our eyes. So we are tracking a coordinated multi-state and now federal push to fundamentally alter the concept of freedom of travel in the United States. They call it the road usage charge. So they also call it the VMT, the vehicle miles traveled. So they use soft focus group words like user fee and fair share. But let's call this what this really is. It's a spy by mile tax. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is legislation. In California, they just wrapped up the pilot program authorized by Senate Bill 339. In Hawaii, as of July 1st of this year, it is mandatory for electric vehicles. You either pay per mile or you pay a flat 50% penalty tax. In Washington state, they're pushing House Bill 1921 to set the rate at 2.5 cents a mile. And buried deep inside the federal National Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act is the funding for a national per mile pilot program. So the goal is explicit. They say eliminate the gas tax and replace it with a tracking tax. All right. Now let's talk about the excuse. They always have an excuse, and it always sounds reasonable at first. The bureaucrats say, Austin, the gas tax is broken. Cars are too efficient. We have hybrids getting 50 miles per gallon. We have EVs paying zero gas tax. The Highway Trust Fund is going bankrupt. We need a new way to pay for the roads. And listen, the libertarian in me, the economist in me, here's that argument. In a purely theoretical vacuum, a user fee might be the most libertarian tax there is. You use the road, you pay for the road. You don't use it, you don't pay. It stops grandma who drives to church on Sundays from subsidizing the Amazon delivery truck that drives 12 hours a day. So if this were 1950 and we were talking about putting a quarter in a toll bucket, I might be leading the parade on that, okay? But it is not 1950. It is 2025, and we are not talking about buckets. We are talking about data. So here is the dirty secret they don't lead with in the press release. To tax you by the mile, they have to verify the mile. And there are only two ways that you can do that. Method one, which is the low-tech way, you drive to the DMV once a year, a guy looks at your odometer and hands you a bill for $400. The bureaucrats hate this method because it's easy to cheat, it's expensive to staff, and most importantly, it doesn't give them the data that they crave. Method two, the high-tech way. This is what California tested. This is what Oregon uses for the OreGo program. They mail you a dongle, a little black plastic device. You plug it into your car's OBD2 port. That is the port underneath your steering wheel that the mechanic uses to check your engine light. Once you plug that in, the government is in your passenger seat. Okay? Let's dig into the technology, because this is where the user fee becomes a surveillance state. These devices rely on telematics. Many of them are GPS enabled. And why GPS? Because the state of Oregon needs to know, did you drive those 100 miles on an Oregon public road, or did you drive them on a private dirt road on your farm? Or did you drive them in Idaho? Right? If you drove in Idaho, Oregon can't legally tax you. So the device must know your location to calculate the bill. They tell you, don't worry, the data is anonymized. We use third-party vendors. We don't see the map. We just see the bill. Now, we know how third-party data works. Okay, we saw it with the CDC tracking cell phones during COVID to see if you were social distancing. We see it with the FBI buying location data without a warrant because it's, quote, public commercial data. So if that dongle logs your trip to the gun show, if it logs your trip to a protest, if it logs your trip to a cancer clinic, that data exists. And if it exists, it can be subpoenaed, it can be hacked, and it can be sold. Question: do you trust the state of California, the state that leaked the names of every concealed carry permit holder last year, to keep your driving logs secure? I wouldn't trust them with my Founding Flavors coffee, let alone my location history. Southcott from over the foggy Atlantic says in Alderney, Guernsey, they scrapped the road tax and added more to fuel. So the more you use, the more you pay, and still private. Boy, what is this? This island that you speak of, it sounds so mystical and magical, Southcott. And Paul, if you missed my rant earlier, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Surveillance is only the first danger when we're talking about our vehicle taxes. The second danger is behavior modification. So this is the trap and a key takeaway. Once you digitize the tax code, you make it programmable. So right now, the gas tax is flat. It doesn't judge you. But a digital mileage tax can change based on variables. So this is where congestion pricing comes in. The planners in San Francisco and Seattle are already talking about it. They say we need to discourage driving during peak hours to save the planet. Oh, yeah.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So that is where we're headed, and you should prepare for it. And if you are politically active, not just aware, but active, It's time to call your representatives. It's time to speak to your governor's office. It's time to let them know, hell no, to these GPS trackers in our vehicles. So here comes the algorithm. If you drive at 2 p.m., that's a base rate, 2 cents a mile. Drive at 8 a.m. to get to work, that's peak carbon, 10 cents a mile. Drive into the city center, 25 cents a mile. They turn the freedom of movement into a luxury good. If you are a wealthy tech executive, you pay the $30 toll and you enjoy the empty road. But if you are a waitress, a plumber, a teacher, you can't afford the surge price. You get forced onto the bus. You get forced onto the subway. They use the tax code to socially engineer you out of your car. That is the goal. They have written this in their what's called Vision Zero documents for years. They want to end private car ownership. They want to, and making it unaffordable is the fastest way to do it. So let's talk about the rural versus urban divide. So this is the class warfare aspect of this spy tax, right? If you live in a city, you maybe drive 3,000 miles a year. You take the train, you walk. A mileage tax is cheap for you. But what if you live in rural Missouri, where in Jefferson City it's 45 degrees, the pressure is 1007, and it feels like 37 degrees Fahrenheit. It's cold and blustery and windy and wet. But if you live in Jefferson City, Missouri, or in the Midwest, you will pay a higher percentage of your income to these taxes. What if you live in upstate New York? You drive 20 miles just to get to the grocery store in upstate New York. You drive 40 miles to get to work. You aren't driving for fun. You are driving to survive. A mileage tax punishes rural Americans disproportionately. The elites know this. They know that they're going after the people that they hate. This is also a massive wealth transfer from the people who grow the food and build the houses to the people who Zoom into meetings from their apartments in the city. So the gas tax had a natural efficiency for the central planners. Smaller cars paid less, but a mileage tax, if you drive a 20-year-old truck because that's all you can afford and you have to drive 50 miles to the job site, the government is going to crush you. Eminem said nothing is fun in New York. Oh, well, yeah. New York has its charms, but God, I wouldn't pay a premium to live there anymore. God bless Missouri. So they want to make it untenable to live where we live in Missouri. They're coming after us, the Empire Staters, the Chuck Schumers of the world. Is this inevitable? I mean, they want you to think it is. The Federal Highway Administration is handing out millions of dollars in grants to states to test these systems. They're rolling it out in Utah. They're rolling it out in Virginia. But we can stop it. And we can stop it if we draw a hard line in the sand on privacy. If the state wants to tax electric vehicles, I don't love it. I don't want it. But if they're going to make it the least painful, then a registration fee for electric vehicles so that they're paying into a system that they're using, okay, I don't care. But no GPS, no dongles, no tracking. If the price of fair roads is a permanent government record of my movements, then the roads can rot. I would rather drive on gravel in a free country than on a paved gold one in a surveillance state. We need to be calling our state reps, especially in the red states that are flirting with this because they think it's fiscally conservative, to tell them a tracking device is not a tax policy. It is a warrant. So if we lose anonymity on the open road, we lose America. It's that simple. Stick around. We're going to pivot from the government tracking your car to the grocery store tracking your wallet. Instacart is charging different prices to different neighbors. The price tag is dead. Is this the future of business? We'll debate that next. I'm so thankful to everybody tuning in to the Wake Up America show. I love to see that we've unlocked phase 1 of the bonus content. You are a kind group of people, but phase 2 of the bonus content awaits. My recommendation to you is you get like Kim McCurry. Look at our beautiful Founding Flavors coffee brand. Hasn't it become this beautiful, whimsical brand? It certainly has, and we have lots of big things coming for the Founding Flavors coffee brand in 2025. We'd love for you to be a brand ambassador. The simplest thing that you could do is if you buy some coffee, please leave us a 5-star review if you love it. Martha's Mint Founding Flavors coffee is now a permanent addition. You demanded it. We made it happen. And here's the thing. Were there other mint coffees that we could have put up in its place and said, okay, you want mint coffee all year round? Here's some schlep. Take that. But no, we said we wanted the best, the original, the one that everybody really does love. Andy Opperman doesn't like mint anything, but he likes Founding Flavors Martha's Mint. We've got a couple of people that subscribe to it year round. It's one of those things where when somebody comes to your house, you kind of get to brag about it. That box of Martha's Mint coffee looks so beautiful in my kitchen next to our George Washington cutting board. I kid you not. So this is what our kitchen sort of looks like. You can get the idea. The stained glass George Washington cutting board with our Martha's Mint, all of our Founding Flavors coffees around it in our kitchen. It is gorgeous. It's a brag. It doesn't even cost that much money to make your kitchen sort of look incredible. And then if visitors come to your house or your family is coming over for Christmas and you're cutting up breakfast or lunch or dinner on your George Washington glass cutting board, or say maybe the Rosie the Riveter cutting board. That's a good one. Brad, we should put the other cutting boards as the complimentary products in here. But my recommendation to you is put the George Washington glass cutting board in your cart and grab some Founding Flavors coffee if you haven't tried it already. If you have tried it, leave us a 5-star review and sign up as a subscription because I know you love it. Kim will follow up with you about that subscription and unlock phase 2 of the bonus content today. Let's play haven't we been having so much fun playing the Great Grift Off Liberty Loot Live this last few days? That means phase 2 of the bonus content gets unlocked. All we have to do is either in Rumble rants made during the live show or in purchases made at forlibertyshop.com during the live show. All of that money goes to unlock phase 2 of the bonus content, which is where we play a game show. Everybody gets to play at home on their phones. We give you a secret website and a secret code, and then everybody logs in, and during the live show, we all compete against each other for real prizes in the Grift Shop, and it's only $30-$40. So my recommendation, guys, is if you haven't tried Founding Flavors coffee, I'm speaking to you. I know you might roll your eyes. Maybe you're like, oh, I just buy Folgers coffee. But try some. If you've never really tried great coffee in your life, treat yourself. Founding Flavors coffee is not the coffee for people who drink coffee maybe once a year and they drink it out of like, the dregs of a truck stop. But if you're a lover of coffee and you haven't tried ours, you're crazy. You got to try at least one box. But my recommendation, because you're probably like, oh, there's so many choices. What do I do? My recommendation is just go down on the coffee page and try the AP for Liberty's favorite coffees. When you're on the Founding Flavors coffee, Freudian slip, the Founding Flavors coffee page, you just scroll down. We've got a couple of discounted bundles. Some people might want the top 4, and that's fine. We offer that to you for an $89.99 price point. But for $64.99, much less expensive, we give you a nice discount to get you the top 3 that I recommend and drink all the time, and they are astoundingly delicious. Choose whether you want ground or whole bean. Put it in your cart. Check out today, and the bonus content will be unlocked. It puts the coffee in its basket, or else it gets the hose again. And we're all thankful to have you here today on the Wake Up America show. Please do click like and follow if you can't make a financial contribution. We are truly grateful for everyone and every contribution that they make, including listening to me beg for cash and dial for dollars on the Wake Up America show. All right, Austin, back to the news. I know you're happy. All right, ladies, calm it down, right? So we just talked about the government tracking your car. Now I want to talk about the grocery store tracking your wallet. So for the last 100 years, commerce in America was built on a simple unwritten, contract, which was, it's called the price tag, right? You walk into the store, you see a jar of peanut butter. It says $3.99. That's the price for you. That's the price for me. That's the price for a billionaire who buys it. And that's the price for a broke college student. Okay. It was a great equalizer. The price was the price. But that era might be over. The price tag is dead, says the New York Times. And what it is replacing is something much smarter and more efficient. Depending on how you look at it, it might also be completely dystopian. So let's break it down. Breaking news yesterday from the New York Post, a bombshell study has revealed that Instacart, the app millions of you use to get your groceries delivered, is charging customers different prices for the exact same item at the exact same store at the exact same time. So listen to these numbers. They're pretty wild. At a Target in North Canton, Ohio, one customer paid $2.99 for a jar of Skippy Creamy peanut butter. Another customer shopping at the same Target via the same app on the same day paid $3.59. And that is a 20% markup just because. At a Safeway in Seattle, they tracked the price of Oscar Mayer deli turkey. They found 5 different prices ranging from $3.99 to $4.89, a 23% spread. Imagine standing in the checkout line and the guy in front of you pays $4 for his turkey and the cashier looks at you and says, for you, that's $5. You would start a riot. You'd flip the cart. But because it happens on a screen, because it happens in the black box of the algorithm, nobody noticed until now. The media is calling it shady. The New York Times did this whole video essay crying about how dynamic pricing is destroying the social contract. They call it surveillance pricing, and they say that it's unfair that the algorithm looks at your data, your zip code, your purchase history, maybe even your phone's battery level, and decides exactly how much you're willing to pay before you walk away. And on the surface, yeah, it feels gross. It feels like getting scammed. But we're not talking about roads and taxes here. We're talking about private companies with private technology. So rather than take the sort of Josh Hawley Marxist populist route that's in vogue these days, I know, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute here, and I'm going to defend the free market. I know it's crazy. I know you're like, I know that even Republicans aren't big fans of it these days.
No!
I'm going to defend the free market. I'm not going to defend the taxes, the gas taxes. I'm going to defend the private corporations. I know, not the corporations. No. I'm not going to run as a Republican for office with a platform and policy that sounds like this.
The free market is a means to an end, not the end itself. If the free market was the goal, there'd be a slave auction happening in the parking lot right now.
Oh my God, what? God damn, I would have walked out right there. That's a 2% polling Republican primary candidate for governor of Florida. I think I'm going to go with Byron Donalds. I think I'm going with the Byron Donalds pick there in Florida. This James Fishback character has been advanced as like, a populist right-wing alternative to corrupt Byron Donalds. I'm just like, bro, no, Byron Donalds all day. Shit. I would have booed him so hard and walked out laughing. God, the free market also gives us gun markets, which we can use to overthrow and kill slaveholders. Sorry, Democrats. I know you love to run as with an R after your name these days, but back to the Democratic Party where you belong, I say. Back! The demons scream. In Jesus' name, the power of Christ compels you back to the Democratic Party. Take your slaves with you. I want to play devil's advocate on this story because the New York Times video on this really annoyed me the other day. So we accept surge pricing, right, if you try and book a flight to Florida. you accept surge pricing when you're riding on an airline, right? Or do you pay the same price as you would in October? Of course not. Demand is high, supply is fixed, and the price goes up. If you call an Uber at 2 a.m. on New Year's Eve, do you expect to pay the normal $10 fare? No, you pay $50 because that high price incentive, it gets more drivers onto the road, right? That is the basic law of supply and demand. It's not the same thing as the vehicle mileage tax that they're proposing in California. We're talking about two separate concepts. One is taxes and government created flat concrete surfaces, which is separate matter. And now we're talking about the private marketplace, right? Because when you talk about the availability of a service, there's only so many potential drivers of vehicles on the road. And if you raise the prices of what people are willing to pay, then more drivers will be incentivized to get out onto the road, or suddenly it becomes economical. It makes sense to become an Uber driver because all of a sudden everybody's making so much money. Right? Demand is high, supply is fixed, the price goes up. This is the basic law of supply and demand. Think about the waste in a grocery store. Think about the inefficiency. In a grocery store, the profit margins are extremely thin. The For Liberty shop has higher profit margins than a grocery store. If we were to Stephanie and I try and own a grocery store, it might have a possibility of a greater long-term success than a podcasting coffee merch business, potentially. It might, because it's a rock solid staple of the economy, maybe a larger example of cash could come in. You could make more money on it, but it's still risky, very risky in many ways, because the profit margins at the grocery store are razor thin. It's like when you go to a restaurant, the amount of money that an owner makes per plate is minimal. When I was a waiter in the 99 or 2000, I think I got a waiter job when I was in college. They show you one of those training videos and they're like, after taxes, after rent fees, after paying the air conditioning bill, the electricity, the gas, the tax, the all that stuff, the owner of the restaurant might make 25 to 50 cents a plate. And this was like 2003, 2004, maybe. And that's how they make a profit. They have to turn tables. Well, at the grocery store, the margins can sometimes be even thinner. And sometimes they even have to have a loss leader. Walmart uses that. We have some loss leader products in our store. We lose money on certain things. And we do it in order to incentivize you to come back and to purchase more, to create an experience for you. And we hope that you'll buy more than one product. Right now, we're doing bundling. There's all this psychology involved with the shopping experience. And it's always, how do we serve the customers to the greatest degree? How do we serve our customers' needs to the greatest extent while also serving our own? But I have to serve you first. If I had sold you, and this coffee brand's been around for a year and a half now. If I had sold shitty coffee at this point, everybody would have found out. The reviews would be bad and I'd be out of business, right? But it's not the same with the government, okay? But things in the retail industry are changing quickly because we're talking about digital shelf labels. So Walmart is rolling out digital shelf labels to 2,300 stores right now. You might have seen them now. No longer are you going to have the price sticker where they put the price on there. It's one price. The prices will change at certain times of the day, right? So if the grocery store has 50 rotisserie chickens left at 7 p.m. and they close that at 9 p.m., why shouldn't the price drop to $2? That's dynamic pricing. That benefits you. You get cheap chicken. The store reduces waste. Everybody wins in that scenario. Or flip it. Let's say a snowstorm is coming. Everyone is rushing to buy milk and bread. The shelves are getting stripped. Oh no, I know what you're going to hear. We're going to hear price gouging. But if the price stays at $3, the first 10 people buy all the milk and the next 100 people get nothing. Hoarding kicks in. But if the price surges to $10, maybe you only buy 1 gallon instead of 5. The high price rations the scarce resource and ensures that more people get access to the goods. That's not gouging. There's a term for this in economics called allocative efficiency. So price signals are information. And for 100 years, our price signals have been slow, dumb, and printed on paper stickers. Instacart is just making this signal faster. So that is the defense. That is the free market argument. If a business wants to charge different prices and you are willing to pay for it, that is a voluntary transaction. Nobody puts a gun to your head and made you buy the $4.89 turkey, right? You could have bought the ham, or you could have gone to Aldi. However, there is a difference, a massive difference between dynamic pricing based on the market and personalized pricing based on you. This is where it gets dark. And this is where the New York Times actually has a point. In the Uber example, the price goes up for everyone because it's raining. That is market forces. But in the Instacart example, it wasn't raining. The supply wasn't low. They charged neighbor A $2.99 and neighbor B $3.99 because the algorithm calculated that neighbor B wouldn't notice. Maybe neighbor B lives in a richer zip code. Maybe neighbor B is a mom who buys Skippy every week like clockwork. So the algorithm knows she's price incentive. She's going to buy it no matter what. Baby formula. Maybe neighbor A is a new customer, so they give him a teaser rate to get him hooked. That's information asymmetry. That is the store knowing everything about you and you knowing nothing about the store. The economists call this first-degree price discrimination. The holy grail of business is to charge every single person the exact maximum they are willing to pay. If Bill Gates walks in, we charge him $5,000 for a banana. He won't care. If I walk in, charge me $1. In theory, this maximizes revenue. In practice, it destroys trust. The reason that the paper price tag was a social contract to some extent was because it signaled fairness. It meant that we were all playing by the same rules. But if I find out that I'm paying a sucker tax just because I have an iPhone instead of an Android, or because I ordered at 5:15 p.m. instead of 5 p.m., I'm not going to think, wow, what an efficient market. I'm going to think I'm being manipulated. What are your thoughts on that? Love to hear your thoughts. I can see both sides of the aisle on that one. Let me know what you think, though. You can always send us a text at 573-319-1586. Judge Napolitano joins us live in less than 10 minutes. You've unlocked the bonus content. I don't want you to miss it. It's 7 minutes long. It's about rural internet broadband competing with government trying to install it. Who's faster, the free market or the government? Enjoy that bonus content. Judge Napolitano first at 8 a.m. Then the Babylon Bee, Joel Berry, will be joining us at 8:30 a.m. live Central Time. We're going to have a fucking awesome second hour of the show. You don't want to miss a minute unless you're shopping. Women be shopping at forlibertyshop.com. We'll be right back. I'm Austin Peterson. This is the Wake Up America show, and you're watching the 4 Liberty Network.
The free market can connect rural America faster than the government. Private innovation is connecting rural America faster than Washington's $42 billion broadband program. Elon Musk's satellite internet service, Starlink, announced a new milestone in November: 8 million users worldwide, up from its previous high water mark of 7 million in August. Many of these users would otherwise have no connection at all. For decades, reliable internet service has been out of reach for too many, with traditional fiber optic broadband rollout slow, challenging, and costly. Starlink and new innovators are changing that, revolutionizing how we connect rural America. A service of SpaceX, Starlink delivers broadband through a constellation of low Earth orbit (LEO) satellites, a technology unconstrained by the traditional last-mile problem of physically connecting homes to high-speed networks. Each terminal links directly to satellites, providing high-speed internet worldwide. Because Starlink's satellites orbit roughly 340 miles above Earth versus about 22,000 miles for geostationary satellites, latency is dramatically lower, reducing signal delay and enabling high-quality, bandwidth-intensive uses, like video calls and online gaming. Starlink isn't the only player in this arena. Amazon Leo, formerly Project Kuiper, unveiled its new branding in November as it gears up to offer direct-to-consumer internet service. It is investing billions into LEO technology and already has more than 150 satellites in orbit. Fiber broadband depends on laying long stretches of physical cable, something that is often expensive or unprofitable. For example, the Wall Street Journal reported in 2023 that the federal plan to expand broadband into Nebraska's Winnebago tribe was expected to cost an average of $53,000 per household or workplace. In parts of Montana, some connections are estimated at a whopping $300,000 each. These costs frequently mean rural fiber expansion depends heavily on government subsidies. The economics of satellite internet are fundamentally different. Starlink installs for about $600 in hardware. There's no cost per mile, deployment is immediate, and maintenance is minimal. It's a self-sustaining model, with minimal subsidization necessary. The federal government has poured billions of dollars into expanding rural broadband, primarily through fiber optic build-outs. Most recently, the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act allocated over $42 billion for the Broadband, Equity, Access and Deployment (BEAD) program. Should the federal government involve itself so extensively in broadband expansion, and if so, who should benefit on the supply side? Under the Biden administration, the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, NTIA, empowered to define what constitutes priority broadband service, was engaging in a policy of picking winners and losers. In a December 2024 notice, LEO satellite internet service is explicitly named as an alternative technology, effectively sidelining it from BEAD funding in favor of legacy providers. This was short-sighted. In a short time, Starlink has undergone rapid improvements, expanding its user base from roughly 140,000 in 2021 to 8 million today. Further, from the third quarter of 2022 to the first quarter of 2025, U.S. median download and upload speeds rose from 53.95 megabits per second (Mbps) and 7.50 Mbps to 104.71 Mbps and 1484 Mbps, respectively. Since then, performance has accelerated even further. Globally, Starlink reported typical download and upload speeds exceeding 200 Mbps and 30 Mbps, with median latency averaging about 23 milliseconds (ms). All of this easily outperforms the Federal Communications Commission's broadband benchmarks of 100 Mbps download speeds, 20 Mbps upload speeds, and latency below 100 ms. Starlink says it offers download speeds of 400 Mbps or higher where available. Meanwhile, Amazon Leo rolled out its plan to offer LEO internet service with download speeds of up to 100 Mbps, 400 Mbps, and 1 Gbps. Achieved primarily as a privately financed market-driven venture, Starlink already offers much of rural America high-quality internet service. And with SpaceX continuing to launch not only more LEO satellites but higher-performing ones with its second generation, the company's service quality is poised to continue advancing. We shouldn't let government subsidies distort the market. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick embraced this thinking with his June 2025 decision to drop the NTIA's fiber preference, shifting the agency toward a technology-neutral, cost-driven framework. The policy emphasizes cost-effectiveness among technologies meeting speed and latency standards. The Communication Workers of America, CWA, pushed back, accusing Lutnick of prioritizing the interests of a few billionaires and satellite companies, and dismissing LEO technology as expensive and unreliable. CWA represents tens of thousands of technicians employed by legacy telecom firms reliant on fiber models, along with unionized workers who install and maintain fiber optic infrastructure. Days before the announcement, other fiber-aligned groups issued statements pressuring the Trump administration to preserve the status quo. The Fiber Broadband Association, FBA, sent its own letter to Lutnick urging that BEAD remain centered on fiber deployment, while 5 other industry associations issued a joint letter to President Donald Trump, emphasizing BEAD as a golden opportunity to drive as much fiber infrastructure as feasible into our country. In many areas, fiber expansion will continue to make sense, but if LEO-based broadband can offer high-quality internet connectivity virtually instantaneously and on the cheap to many in the targeted regions, why should the federal government stand in the way? After all, as Starlink celebrates its 8 million and counting user base, something largely accomplished absent heavy subsidization, a congressional report notes that, as recently as August 2025, no eligible broadband deployment projects had received BEAD funding yet. Just 5 years ago, direct-to-consumer LEO service was only an idea. Today, Built and scaled overwhelmingly through private investment rather than being dependent on federal broadband deployment subsidies like BAD, Starlink reliably connects millions, and with additional and higher performing satellites coming, it is set to expand in quality and reach. New entrants also underscore that this industry is steadily advancing. While fiber-based, last-mile broadband infrastructure will remain part of the solution, the federal government should steer clear of tilting the playing field and let innovation lead. If the government steps aside, the free market can finally finish the job of connecting rural America. Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers, pronouns are mandatory, and Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop for libertyshop.com.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America Show. I'm Austin Peterson. Hopefully you're not driving to work this morning. If you're driving to work in California, well, the government might be tracking your every move. We talked this morning about the plans by the governor of Oregon and California to put GPS trackers in your car and charge you by the mile for how much you drive. They say they want to replace the gas tax, but do they ever replace any taxes? I don't think we know. There's no man who hates taxes more than me. Well, there might be one more man who hates taxes more than me. The man who I learned to hate taxes from, who I wrote a show for, associate produced over at the Fox Business Network for 2 glorious years during those Tea Party years. That man inspired me so much to get involved with activism for liberty. I can truly say that if he were not here today, I would not be here today. Judge Andrew Napolitano is on the Wake Up America show right now live. Good morning, Judge.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Austin. Thank you for that very, very generous and personal introduction. It moves me deeply. And of course, we both have the fondest of memories of those years.
We certainly do, Judge. Scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago, eating the biggest steak I've ever seen in my life when you treated us to a Christmas dinner across the street from Fox News that year. Right. And I think my cheeks have never been that flushed because also I'm pretty sure you gave some good wine and maybe even some peaty scotch that I had never had in my life before. So
good memory. Great memory.
Good memory, Judge. Good memory, Judge. Thank you for all you've done for us. And thank you for what you do for liberty in this country. Judge, maybe there's reasons not to be black-pilled. Maybe there's reasons to be excited for Christmas this year. Will we get a Christmas gift? Will the Supreme Court say that the President of the United States can hire and fire people who are executive underneath his purview and abolish, to some extent, the deep state in the United States? Talk to us about this Supreme Court case, Trump versus Slaughter.
Well, the one president of the United States that was a PhD, arguably the second worst president in history after Abraham Lincoln, I speak of Woodrow Wilson, believed that the world was too complex for Congress and we needed government by experts, literally a phrase that he used. And that was the origin of the fourth branch of government, which is sometimes called the administrative state and sometimes referred to as a part of the deep state, things like the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission. These entities, they're not in any branch of the government. They write their own rules, they interpret their own rules, they enforce their own rules, they adjudicate the violation of their own rules, they punish people for the violation of their own rules. What the hell are they? Well, they're alien to the Constitution. Under the present system, they are appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, but then the president can't fire them, and the enormous bureaucracy that they hire is independent of the president. I think that the Supreme Court has begun to recognize that a 90-year-old Supreme Court opinion, we don't need to get into the facts of it, but it's 1935, basically telling FDR that he could not fire a member of the Federal Trade Commission because it was an independent agency. I think that opinion is going to be repealed. It should be repealed. The fourth branch of government should not exist. Listen to the first line of Article 1 of the Constitution. All legislative power herein delegated shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. The Congress cannot give that power away, which it has done. One of those agencies has written over 70,000 pages of regulations and another 100,000 pages of its own interpretations of those regulations. Do you think that Congress has read all of that and approved all of that? Of course not. So this arises in the context of Trump wanting to fire a member of the Federal Trade Commission. First of all, the Federal Trade Commission shouldn't exist. But if it does exist, it should be an arm of the executive branch to help the president enforce the law. And if it's in the executive branch, of course, the president can hire and fire whoever he wants. That's where we are. Right now, it looks like it'll be a 6-3 vote to permit her firing. It's not going to invalidate the fourth branch of government, but it will have the effect gradually of doing so as Trump does more firing and hiring. It's one of the few things that Trump has been doing that, in my view, is constitutional and sound public policy.
We certainly do get a smorgasbord of policies when it comes to the Trump administration. One day he's laying a terrible tariff that is putting all of our economy into discombobulation, and the next day he's appointing Supreme Court justices like Neil Gorsuch. It's been a roller coaster ride for the last decade, Judge. I think anybody could say the greatest mistake that Trump ever made, of course, was not putting you on the Supreme Court, because we could have seen even more chaos in a good way, planned chaos. Judge, talk to us about what the liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, they're arguing if Trump wins this case, he becomes a dictator who can politicize the Federal Reserve or the FTC. What's your response to that? Is independence from the president just code for unaccountable to the voters?
Yes, independence from the president is code for unaccountable to the voters. And Woodrow Wilson wanted these people to be unaccountable to the voters when he wanted a government by experts. He basically wanted them to tell us how we should live. This was all part of the progressive era mentality. It wasn't just Woodrow Wilson, although he is the author and creator of much of this. That mentality had spread to the Republicans as well under the another horrific president by the name of Theodore Roosevelt. You know, I wrote a book called Woodrow and Theodore, How Two American Presidents Destroyed Constitutional Liberty. I could talk about these two till I'm blue in the face. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, with whom I agree on a lot of civil liberties issues, I profoundly disagree yesterday, or disagree with what she said on it was either Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Monday of this week. You mean you're actually going to fire PhDs and scientists from the government? Yes, we are. They shouldn't be there. Now, you mentioned the Federal Reserve. Of course, the Federal Reserve is profoundly unconstitutional. The court has never ruled on its constitutionality. But every time the issue of firing somebody from an administrative agency comes up, someone from the conservative wing, 2 months ago it was Justice Thomas, 3 days ago it was Justice Kavanaugh, says, but not the Federal Reserve, not the Federal Reserve. We're not talking about the Federal Reserve. Why don't you pass on the constitutionality of a quasi-private bank regulating the money supply first? Justice Scalia knew it was unconstitutional, and then decide whether or not the president can hire and fire the people that are in it. They'll never address the constitutionality of it. because it is so embedded in our system. They're terrified to do the right thing. Justice Scalia also believed, you ready for this? Paper money is unconstitutional because the Constitution says only gold and silver can be money. And when Nixon took us off the gold standard, the paper dollar stands for nothing.
Judge, do you think that the Supreme Court looks at monetary policy in a similar way that they look at national defense or national security policy, that it's sort of beyond their purview to weigh in on those matters because, you know, our pecuniary interests are to some extent, you know, an area of expertise, whereas so is something like national security or national defense? I think the Supreme Court has declined cases specifically in regards to civil liberties and privacy. I could be wrong. Please remind me. Simply because they felt as if the national security and the national defense policies that the president's engaged in were to an extent, you know, out of their purview. Is that the case?
Well, it is the case that they give that as a reason. That is often a subterfuge for this, a hot potato that we don't want to touch. They have another doctrine called the political question doctrine, which they say, well, this isn't really for us, it's for the popular branches, when they are worried about being so unpopular that they might be impeached. The idea that something the president does is beyond their purview is absurd and would scandalize many of their predecessors. Everything the executive branch and everything the legislative branch does is subject to judicial review in the right context, where there's a case or controversy. You know, the Supreme Court can't say, well, that's unconstitutional, it's going to go. That's unconstitutional, it's going to go. There has to be a real case or controversy before it. The whole purpose of an independent judiciary is to be anti-democratic and to preserve the life, liberty, and property of all of us from the tyranny of the majority, and couching that tyranny as this is a sacred cow, it's monetary policy, we can't go there. This is a sacred cow, it's foreign policy, we can't go there. How many sacred cows are there, Justice Kavanaugh? I'm down on Kavanaugh because of this new jurisprudential provision called the Kavanaugh stop. I wrote about this a few weeks ago. When the Supreme Court declined to interfere with ICE agents stopping people on the streets of Chicago, asking them if they were citizens, they actually stopped a number of American citizens, like you and me, natural-born American citizens. A few of them told ICE what they could go do with themselves, and some of them submitted, and a few of them brought legal action. District court judge said, you can't stop somebody on the street. You have to have probable cause. That's right out of the Fourth Amendment. The Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed it right out of the Fourth Amendment. Supreme Court said, well, we're not going to get involved at this point in one of those emergency decisions. Stop, go, yes, no, no reason given. Except Justice Kavanaugh wrote a concurrence saying, if somebody stops you for your papers, big deal. Just show your papers. What papers, Justice Kavanaugh? Do you carry your passport? Do you expect to be stopped? Of course not. You have U.S. Marshals that protect you. This isn't East Germany. The police can't stop you and ask for your papers. The Fourth Amendment prohibits it. So this is now called derisively a Kavanaugh stop. All right, I'm off the subject. I apologize.
No, it's fine, Judge. This is why we give you the platform. We love it. We love the freedom rants. We love the freedom rants, Judge. Everybody in the chat is just going crazy right now. They love it. It's stop and frisk all over again. Judge, I'm so glad to have you here, and I know I only have you for a precious few more minutes, so I do want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about the escalation of a conflict with Venezuela. The president of the United States seems intent, headlong, in plunging into conflict with the government of Venezuela, a disgusting, dastardly, murderous communist regime about which nothing good can be said. And yet, Judge, there seems to be a complete and total disregard for the basic laws of war when it comes to dealing with the question of how dangerous toxic chemicals are being transported from that country to the United States. It used to be that the Coast Guard's job was to interdict, was to set up a blockade to prevent these boats from coming into the United States. We've now escalated beyond that, and now we're talking about potentially overthrowing the dictator of Venezuela. Talk to us a little bit about your piece this week, which we can read every Thursday at judgenap.com.
Well, the piece starts off by bemoaning the so-called double tap, which was the secondary and third and fourth attacks on a speedboat, because the first attack didn't kill enough people to satisfy the Secretary of Defense. The first attack on September 2nd killed 9 people on a boat that was carrying 11. 2 were clinging to the remnant of the boat, and a murderous thug by the name of Admiral Frank Bradley decided to send 3 drones to attack 3 different hits, the remainder of the ship to kill the survivors, notwithstanding federal law and Uniform Code of Military Justice and the Geneva Conventions, which make it a crime to kill shipwreck survivors and impose affirmative obligation to save them. Okay, that has caused a great controversy. The president and the Secretary of Defense do not want to reveal the tapes of these killings. It's apparently horrible to look at, and it's apparently obvious that they didn't present a threat to anybody, and they were clinging to these ships for dear life. The piece that I wrote that comes out tomorrow morning argues that this horror of the double tap is causing us to lose sight of the big picture. And the big picture is that all of these attacks are unconstitutional and criminal. The president does not have the authority. There are statutes that expressly prohibit using the military for this purpose. As Senator Rand Paul argued very articulately on Fox Business the other day, but let's say one of these boats, which can only go 50 or 60 miles, even though they're 1,500 miles from the U.S., miraculously makes it to Miami, and they unload the boat, the contents of the boat, into a moving van. The moving van's on Route 95 going north to Orlando. Can the government blow up the moving van? I mean, there's no end to the government's lust to kill and to avoid due process. The second time this happened, that is, the attack failed to kill everybody on the boat. There were 2 survivors, and the government rescued them. And then it called the DOJ and said, what do you want us to do with them? And the DOJ said, well, do you have evidence of any crime? And the government and the military said, well, no, we destroyed it. Another crime. Well, then you better send them home. And they rescued them and sent them home so as to avoid the nastiness that comes about when you kill those who are shipwrecked. The Constitution requires due process whenever the government wants life, liberty, or property. The only exception to that is when Congress declares war and we are engaged in hostilities, military to military. Congress has not declared war on Venezuela. Congress cannot legally declare war on Venezuela because we have signed treaties that limit our war-making power to those countries which pose an immediate military threat to the United States, which Venezuela does not pose. That's what I wrote about. It is turning my stomach that people are cheering Trump on as he's killing innocents, legally innocent people.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, he's the host of Judging Freedom. Who do you have on your show coming up, Judge?
I just had Professor Gilbert Doctorow, I had Professor Glenn Deason, the great Max Blumenthal, and Phil Giraldi. Tomorrow, Scott Ritter and Colonel Douglas McGregor.
Judge, Merry Christmas to you, sir. We're
Thank
so
you.
grateful for
Austin,
your voice.
I have to tell you, we are within a hair's breadth of reaching, before Christmas, 100 million views in 2025.
Judge, it's unbelievable. Congratulations.
I'm fortunate that I have very attractive, brilliant, and provocative guests.
You have a wonderful day, Judge, and a Merry Christmas season.
Back at you, Austin. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
A policing procedure in New York continues to draw controversy this week as thousands took to the streets to protest the NYPD's Stop and Kiss program. The policy, which allows officers to kiss anyone who they think looks suspicious, has been the subject of criticism from those who say it's a violation of privacy and a potential breach of constitutional rights. New Yorkers who've been stopped often say the encounters feel extremely intrusive.
Going through my pockets, throwing my stuff on the ground, kissing me on my neck and face. They push me up against the wall and start nibbling on my ear. It's humiliating.
It's something you learn to live with at this point. Every time I go out and I see a cop, I'm ready for him to come up, ask me questions, and give me a little kiss, just because, the color of my skin. I mean, you don't see them kissing any pretty white ladies out here.
In his last month in office, Mayor Bloomberg has continued to defend the practice, saying, quote, "This program helps keep New Yorkers safe. If someone is suspected of a crime, officers should be allowed to question them and leave them with a small and reasonable kiss on the mouth." Joining us now is legal analyst Susan Hughes and Mark Brennan, a former police officer who has defended the Stop and Kiss program. Susan, does this policy go too far?
It does, Rachel. Look, it's one thing to kiss someone who you think might commit a crime, but these officers are just kissing people left and right with no probable cause.
If you've got nothing to hide, then it's not a problem. They just stop, ask where you're going, give you a gentle kiss or two, and let you go.
I am not saying that the police shouldn't be able to detain people and kiss them, but it has to be done in a colorblind way. I mean, the fact of the matter is 9 out of 10 people who are kissed under this policy in New York are black and Latino.
Yeah, that's because officers are kissing people in high crime areas. These kisses aren't racially motivated. The police are just doing their job.
But Mark, there have been examples, public examples, where these procedures have just gone too far. Let's take a look at a disturbing cell phone video that's been making the rounds on the internet.
Stop! Put your hands on your head. Oh, come on, man. They just kissed me 2 blocks ago. Come on, man. I didn't do anything. Shut the f*** up and let me kiss you.
This is happening every day.
But some argue this is just the unfortunate reality we live in. Tighter security at airports, sporting events, kiss points in Washington, D.C. Commissioner Kelly said, quote, "This is what post-9/11 police work looks like. Honestly, if we could kiss everyone in New York City, we would. We just don't have the manpower."
Look, the cops can either kiss people now before there's violence, or they can be kissing a bunch of dead bodies at a crime scene.
All right, well, thanks, Mark and Susan. It is a complex issue. When we come back, a new health study finds that eating McDonald's at the airport doesn't count.
That's not AI. That's the Onion back when it was funny. Stop and kiss. All right, you stop and kiss me. We got Joel Berry of the Babylon Bee coming up next. We're going to have a fantastic final half hour of the show. Thank you to everybody who went to forlibertyshop.com. My mother thanks you. My father thanks you. My brother thanks you. My sister thanks you. And I thank you.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
that philosophy is much more libertarianism than
Well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian.
It always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers, pronouns are mandatory, and Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop for libertyshop.com. Picture this. It's 1776. Thomas Jefferson is hunched over his desk at Monticello, ink-stained fingers, writing the most radical document in human history. Do you really think he was sipping Starbucks? No. He was drinking something bold, something black, something brewed strong enough to fuel a revolution. That's the spirit behind Founding Flavors, our signature line of liberty-fueled coffee. No soy froth, no climate guilt, no corporate slogans. Just real coffee, inspired by the men who wrote freedom into existence. Every cup is a quiet protest. Against mediocrity, against tyranny, against bad coffee. So this morning, skip the globalist brew. Grab something worthy of a free man's sunrise. Founding Flavors. Now brewing at forlibertyshop.com. Legend has it, back in 1773, a band of angry, overtaxed patriots stormed a British ship, found the king's favorite tea, and said, "This would taste better without the tyranny." Then they tossed it overboard. Fast forward to today. That revolutionary spirit lives on in Boston Harbor Black, the boldest brew in the For Libert tea lineup. It's dark, it's smooth, it's unapologetically American, just like the folks who drink it. Whether you're sweetening it up on the front porch or drinking it straight like a Minuteman before battle, this isn't tea for royalty, it's tea for rebels. No fake flavors, no corporate slogans, just a cold glass of Don't Tread on Me in liquid form. So skip the woke iced tea aisle and stock up on Boston Harbor Black at 4libertyshop.com. Because when the heat's rising, the least you can do is drink like a patriot. Look, not all t-shirts are created equal. Some just sit there. Others start conversations. The ones at 4libertyshop.com, they raise eyebrows, win arguments, and occasionally get you banned from PTA meetings. Whether you're repping freedom, mocking tyrants, or just making the left squirm, we've got the gear that says what you're thinking. Loud, proud, unapologetic. Grab yours today at 4libertyshop.com because your shirt should speak louder than your neighbor's bumper sticker.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Thanks for hanging around. Hope you guys enjoyed those little Lego-themed commercials. I get a lot of good feedback from them. If you haven't clicked the like button, please do so. Totally free way to support the show. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button as well. We'd love to have you come back and be a regular guest every Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Guys, thank you so much for all your incredible financial contributions you've made this morning. Stephanie and I are astounded. We can't thank you enough. And of course, our sweet little baby Hazel, thanks to you. I thank you. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Merry Christmas. Now, we spend a lot of time on this show attacking the left, and for good reasons, right? They're the ones who are currently trying to ban your car, track your miles, cancel your speech. But this morning, we're going to look in the mirror. I want to talk about us, the right. For decades, the conservative movement was built on a simple idea. American conservatives believed in liberty. Leave me alone. Don't tread on me. Clint Eastwood, small government, right? But there is a new mood in the movement. You hear it online. You hear it from the new right. You hear it from the post-liberals. They look at the culture war, trans kids, censorship, corporate wokeness, and they say liberty failed. Neutrality is a trap. We can't just want to be left alone. We need to seize the government and use it to crush our enemies just like they used it to crush us. They would rather live in Adolf Hitler's Germany than in a place where a drag queen show is legal. I mean, it's a tempting argument, right? It feels good, right? It feels like revenge. But is it American, right? And if we pick up the ring of power, will it consume us? Joining us now to discuss the authoritarian temptation is a man who usually fights the culture war with jokes, but who has been doing some very serious thinking about the soul of the right. Who's the managing editor of the Babylon Bee and co-author of the Postmodern Pilgrim's Progress, Joel Berry. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Joel, welcome to the show. Let's define terms for the normies. We hear post-liberalism, integralism, Christian nationalism. To the guy driving his truck right now, listening to us in Bluetooth in his car, he just wants gas prices to go down. What does the post-liberal right actually believe? What are they asking for, and why does it matter?
Yeah, well, it is right now. It is kind of hard to put your finger on and define with any level of preciseness, because it is, within the post-liberal right, there is a lot of variation, in terms of where they want to go and what they want to do. At a high level, to me, the way I look at it, it seems like a kind of a fundamental rejection of the American founding. What you'll hear a lot of post-liberal right-wing people say is that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution are heretical, that they were based off of French Enlightenment liberalism that was tainted from the very beginning and were inevitably going to lead to the decadence and horror that we see now with, transgender surgeries on kids and drag queen story hour and things like that. And so what you see a lot in this movement is a kind of a push towards monarchy, believe it or not. Some of these guys like Curtis Yarvin, who is a monarchist, define a lot of the philosophical and political thinking on the post-liberal right. And so I think what people need to understand about this new movement that is emerging on the right is that it is characterized by some Christian thinking, some good ideas, but fundamentally it's a rejection of American liberty and the American founding.
What isn't American liberty Christian liberty as and needs to be imposed on everyone, Joel? Blasphemy laws. I mean, the founding fathers were certainly not. They would have been alien to the type of liberty that we enjoy in the United States today, to a certain extent, wouldn't they?
That's what's often said. At the time the Constitution was signed, there were a lot of state level establishments of religion. There were blasphemy laws at the state level. There were requirements that leaders profess some sort of Christianity, or at least a belief in a theistic God. And so, yeah, the argument often put forward is that we started out this way as Christianity was kind of an assumption. It was just a given in our culture. And since we've gone away from that, we're now in a constitutional crisis. The quote that's often put out there is John Adams. He said that the Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It's unfit for the government of any other. We're no longer a moral and religious people. And so now we kind of have to scrap or rethink the Constitution, which, again, as with any bad movement or any lie, there is always like a kernel of truth to it and something that is compelling about it, which is why it gains steam. And so I think it's an important debate that needs to be had on the right. Where are we? Who are we? What do we want moving forward? And it needs to be had soon, because the right is ascendant. I think the left is so discredited and outside of the kind of cultural power. It's important for the right to start to really nail down where we want to go and what we believe in.
One of the key mistakes, I think, that many of my fellow libertarian travelers make when they talk about the law is they talk about this concept of not using the government to enforce morality. But I think I may have believed that at one point, but I certainly don't anymore, because all legislation is in effect trying to enforce a form of morality. Libertarians are if we try and run for office or pass laws that we see as libertarian, then we're enforcing our version of morality on our fellow Americans, on our fellow citizens. So, you're a devout Christian. The integralists argue that the government should promote Christianity and ban immorality. Do you as a Christian reject that? Why is a confessional state a bad idea for the church?
Yeah, I think as far as integralism goes, I do believe that there does need to be some sort of an agreement on what morals that we're imposing. Like you said, every law is in some sort of way an imposition of some sort of morality. The question is, whose morality are we imposing? What is this all based on? And for the longest time, we've kind of had this basic cultural assumption. You hear the word Judeo-Christian values a lot, and it comes from the Ten Commandments. It comes from the basic ethics that have formed the foundation of Western civilization. I argue starting at Mount Sinai, but then kind of supercharged by the Greeks and Romans and the teachings of Christ in the first century. And so, when that foundation has been eroded, when the influence of Christianity and basic moral virtue has been eroded, it kind of becomes, this new idea has kind of crept into the culture. This idea of consent, if as long as you consent to it, it's okay, and we're now seeing all of these horrible things being done, especially to kids under gender ideology in the name of consent. And people are really starting to rethink some of these ideas. And my argument is this, I think we just need to go back to this basic cultural assumption that comes from the Bible, that comes from the Ten Commandments, but I don't believe that we need to see an imposition of Christianity. And the reason why I think that is because I believe Christianity is true. Thomas Jefferson said, if it's true, it doesn't need the government, the power of the government to prop it up and force it on people. It'll stand on it. Let it stand on its own two legs. We should have that amount of confidence in our beliefs as Christians that we don't feel like we need to force it on people. But I do think that we'll have a better world if some of those basic, assumptions are driving the laws that we create. I would love to see more Christians, in our government, in our legislature, in our executive and judicial branches. I think that it's good to have Christians who are informed by Christian values, writing our laws and making our decisions. And that's good enough for me. I don't think that we need an establishment of religion.
Can I interject there for a second? Boy, that actually presents an interesting challenge to me, Joel. Because when you say if it's true, then it doesn't need the government to protect it. I am not a believer, and therefore I have to wrestle with this from a different angle, because I don't see it as true, but I see it as useful as a tool to protect our liberties. You see, I look at the Judeo-Christian experiment as an experiment in protecting the rights of man, the internal liberties of man. And I don't place all religions fundamentally on the same pedestal like I do the Judeo-Christian tradition. To me, I see Jews and Christians as adhering to a libertarian tradition, which is Americanism. And I haven't replaced Americanism with a sense of religion, but I fully embrace the American experiment because it allows people like myself the right to speak and to be heard and not to be thrown off of a building and murdered by my government. But then, of course, if I don't believe that it's true, and I do not have any beliefs in any supernatural whatsoever. I'm a pure materialist to a great extent. But if it's useful and what you say is true, that it doesn't need the government to be defending, but I think it's useful and as a shield from our liberties from authoritarianism and tyranny, that puts someone like myself in a really interesting quandary, because now I have to wonder, should the government sponsor it because we need it to protect us from the threats of liberty? Do you see where I'm going?
That's very interesting. Yeah, well, you're kind of like, who is the character from Brothers Karamazov, Ivan, that, I don't believe in it, but I believe that we kind of need to pretend like we believe in it for society to work. Elon has said something similar recently that, I'm noticing that this basic cultural Christianity seems to be the best way to organize society. This is how we got Western civilization. This is how we got culture and freedom, and I always get into arguments with kind of like the post-liberal right, or, sometimes I call them the European right, because it is a more European style of right-wing politics, about how Christian our nation is. And I always say that America is the most Christian nation ever established. And that confuses people, because they say, well, what about the European nations? They actually had, a state church. They had this requirement, this religious requirement. How are they not more Christian than America? Well, I say America is more Christian because it treats human beings the way the Bible describes human beings. It has a biblical anthropology. It treats people as made in God's image, with eternal worth and dignity, equal worth and dignity, and natural rights. And so, I think that's what the fact that we're established on those ideas at a very core level is what makes America the most Christian nation. And it's hard because it's not something you can impose. All through the Bible, how does Jesus interact with people? He's never forcing himself on them. He's drawing them. He stands at the door and knock, but you have to open the door. He never is going to impose himself over your will. He allows human beings free will to choose or to not choose him, and that's how we need to have things set up in our own country. We need to give people the free will to choose or to not choose, but we still need to have a Christian nation. And so the solution as Christians is that we need to do the hard work of making more Christians. And that's what I often say on X, Twitter, and it makes people mad, is that if we want a Christian nation, we need to go out, we need to preach the gospel, we need to make disciples, we need to be forming communities around worshiping God together and following Jesus. And that's not like a 2-year project. That's like a 50-year project. And people aren't patient enough for that. They want to elect a strong man who's going to impose Christianity and solve all the problems, like like Franco or insert anyone else. People aren't patient enough for these things, and we got to remember the left. Their project to subvert and destroy this country was a multi-year project. It was they were patient. They walked and marched through the institutions over decades, centuries. And so if we can't have that long view as Christians and Americans, we're going to lose, because the quick fix that makes you feel good and lets you crush your enemies and impose your will. It always, we look at history, we see how it ends up. You're going to end up being the one under that boot. You think that, if you elect your right-wing strongman, you think that you're going to be one of the elites ruling over this new project. No, you're going to be the guy that's going to be simpering and begging for your life and freedom as well. And so we need to keep freedom first on the right. We have to keep that in front of us and really oppose this new movement on the right that has really lost faith in freedom.
Revelation 3:20, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. I'm speaking to Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee. Okay, let's move away from the celestial to the terrestrial and talk a little, get our feet firmly planted on ground here, Joel, because I want to talk to you a little bit about more of the sort of the way that the new right loves to insult boomer cons and Reaganites as weak and outdated. Is there any validity to their critique? Did the small government movement fail to conserve the culture? Because I look around at some of these boomer cons and I'm like, oh yeah, they are kind of weak. Like, I love Ronald Reagan and I think he did a lot of great things for this country, which makes libertarians and the new right hate me. But I will say that it does seem like when I look at the Reagan accounts, the never Trumpers, there is a sort of, I don't know, a namby-pamby aspect to it. I don't want to hang out with the guys who don't look like they can't even bench press their own weight to some extent, Joel.
Yeah,
It's
no,
bad for my
there's
aura.
something to that. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's something to that because, I was born in the 80s and my entire life has been characterized by weak, Rush Limbaugh famously called them linguini-spined Republicans who have rolled over and given over to the left every time. There was George Bush Sr., there was George Bush Jr., then we had the McCains and the Romneys and the Mike Pences that, they're dignified and they have great hair and they say all the right things, but they just gave this country over to these wicked, corrupt barbarians that have just destroyed everything. And so I understand the frustration. In Ronald Reagan's case, he was a great president for his time. He ended the Soviet Union without firing a shot. He really brought America back to
amnesty, Joel. He let the illegal immigrants come in, and that's why California. He's why California has fallen.
I agree. Yeah, I think he made a mistake with immigration. I think he was maybe a little bit naive about how keen people would be to assimilate, and I think that the left kind of ended up seizing on this opportunity, putting people on welfare as soon as they crossed the border, turning them into permanently dependent underclass citizens. And so I think it did some damage, and I think that was a mistake. But it's easy to kind of Monday morning quarterback these people who were great men in their time, who did some great things, but they didn't do all great things.
It's presentism. It's presentism.
Yeah. It's. I mean, I think we're in a new time now. The problems are slightly different. Illegal immigration, mass migration is a much bigger problem than it was in the 70s and 80s, and it absolutely needs to be addressed in a way that Reagan didn't. But that doesn't mean that we give up on those core principles that Reagan stood for. One of my favorite quotes from him is that he said that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction because we don't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, it must be taught, it must be protected. Otherwise, someday we'll be talking to our children and our children's children about what it was like in this country back when men were free. And I think one of the mistakes that the kind of the post-liberal right, the European right, sometimes I call them the blood and soil right, is they have this overconfidence in their European stock, in their race, in their heritage, as if we just have the right stock of people here, liberty will be preserved, and that's absolutely not true.
Our white women have proven that completely wrong.
How so?
Well, are they not the ones who are ushering in the drag? No man in this, no white man in this country is voting for drag queen story hours. So, I mean, so your argument is founded simply by the fact that we don't seem to have a handle on our women, even, Joel.
That's a whole other issue. I
Well,
think
we'll get into it.
So
but
much.
We're getting towards the end, and these have been great conversations, and I'm so grateful to have your time, Joel. I definitely feel like I identify with you so much more even than I used to these days. Maybe not, spiritually, but certainly ideologically.
I'm going to get you. Don't worry. I'm going to proselytize you into,
yes, I
the
remember,
kingdom.
I think we did an interview back in the day that people can read where you called me a secular libertarian dude, bro. And there's a podcast out there on the Babylon Bee. People can go back, and it was pretty funny. I think I listened to it like a year ago. But I need your advice, Joel, how to not be a grifter, because we're sort of in the same business, right? And I get paid for my opinions, and I do fairly well. I'm not Candace Owens, I'm not Nick Fuentes, I'm not humongous, but I make a comfortable enough living. But I can't have people saying, Austin, I'm going to pull my subscription away, I'm going to do all this kind of stuff, because that hurts our bottom line, and I've got a baby to feed, and I've got needs. I'm trying to make a living doing what I love. Here's the thing. What do I do when somebody, I've been calling all my donors, anybody, even if they give me $2.99 on Twitter, I call them and I say, thank you, Merry Christmas. I just want you to know how grateful we are. I just try and be grateful. So what do I do when somebody says, you're so welcome, whatever you do, though, don't say anything unkind about Candace Owens, or I will pull my support. Here's what it says. The only way you'll ever lose my support is if you start posting anti-Candace propaganda. Joel, what do I do? Because I've already done that, and I'm afraid that if they see my timeline, they're going to know. How should I deal with that? And by the way, that extrapolates to the influencer community writ large. That's the problem a lot of people are facing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're going to like my answer, because it's going to invoke God again, but I'll tell you how I treat it, because I've experienced some of this too. I've lost followers. The Bee has lost supporters over some of this stuff. I have to treat what I'm doing as if I'm on a mission from God. I'm here to serve God, and God wants me to speak the truth in love, no matter what I'm doing, even if it costs me. I am in it for the ultimate reward of standing before God someday and hearing, well done, good and faithful servant. And so if that costs me followers, if that costs me financially, financial wise, I know that God will provide for me. He says that, a sparrow doesn't fall from the ground without him knowing, and how much more worth are we than sparrows. And so I just kind of have to hang everything on that faith that I have, that doing what is right is worth it in the long run, even if it hurts in the short term. Now, in your case, you can just pretend because I still think, we live in a moral universe. If you act as if God exists, I believe that, people reap what they sow. I think, you can have this level of faith that, goodness will be rewarded and evil will be punished. And you kind of just have to live that way. Even if you don't believe all the theological details about it, I think we can look at history and just the way the universe works that seems to bear that out.
Boy, I wish I had an hour with you, Joel. This was a great conversation. and I'm very unsatisfied with our conversation, because there's a lot of rabbit holes that I really want to go down with you on this one. I really admire your work, Joel, and you guys have really I know you've taken a real big beating in the last year, and it can be really challenging. I've been in that situation. I've had that happen to me so many times. I would have the Dave Smith numbers on the podcast if I just hated Jews a little bit more. But my conscience tugs at me and tells me to do the right thing. Even, maybe that is God, who knows? Joel, I am agnostic after all. Joel, where can people find your work online and read a little bit more about what you're up to these days?
Well, you can find me on X. I'm active there at Joel W. Berry is my tag. You can find my work on the Babylon Bee. I also write for Not the Bee. We'll keep doing what we're doing as long as they let us, as long as we have at least a few readers supporting us. So
he's on a mission from God. Joel Berry and the Babylon Bee. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas to you and your families.
Thanks, man. You too. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God. We're putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way.
We're on a mission from God. Matt, me and Elwood, putting the band back together.
Ma'am, you gotta understand that this is a lot bigger than any domestic problems you might be experiencing.
Would it make you feel any better if you knew that what we're asking Matt here to do is a holy thing?
You see, we're on a mission from God.
First you trade the Cadillac for a microphone. Then you lie to me about the band. Now you're gonna put me right back in the joint.
They're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God.
You guys, it's time. We've done it. The Great Grift Off. Welcome to the Wake Up America Show's game show. It's time to play a game. Do you guys want to play a fun little Christmassy game? We can play it together. Here's how it works. Excuse me. Everybody gets to play. You go to the website listed on the screen, crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. And enter that secret code that you see on your screen. We're playing for real prizes. Everybody who's watching the show right now is eligible to play, and everybody who plays will win. Oh, yes. We're playing for real prizes. This just turned into a game show. Head on over to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Peter the Great, if you got all those references and remembered the Carrie Fisher part, you are old. Everybody who wants to play the game is welcome to play. To join us right now at crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. When you join the game, we will play a trivia game, and you can play it at home on your phone right now. If you're watching the Wake Up America show live, you are eligible. So head to the website, crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Let's play a game. It's called The Mandela Effect. The Mandela Effect. 4 out of 50 players joining us right now. We can take up to 50 people. In just a moment, I'm going to initiate a countdown sequence. And that countdown sequence means 30 seconds left to get in the game. If you want to play, you can join right now. If you don't want to play, you can just watch and play along at home and take your guesses. But if you want to play and have a chance to win real prizes, go to crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. We're giving away real prizes today on the live show. Crowdparty.app. That's crowdparty.app. Sometimes people come in and then they drop out. I think they accidentally close the screen. But I'm going to hit the Squid Game button, which means we'll have 30 seconds to get in the game. 30 seconds to join the game. When I hit the Squid Game button, I've got 4 out of 50 players. St. Selma, Damian, Luke Sacker, Micropene, and Derelict. You've got 30 seconds to get in the game if you want to play. Starting countdown right now. Barney Styles is in the game. 20 seconds left to get in the game. Peen is in the game. Seven out of 50 players so far. We've got 6 seconds, 5 seconds to get in the game. Here we go. Nelson Mandela was thought by most to have passed away in which decade? The 90s, the 70s, the 80s, or the 60s? Damien, pronounced Damien. Thank you, Damien. Appreciate the correction. In the scene of Risky Business, is Tom Cruise's character wearing sunglasses? No or yes? No is the answer. St. Selma feeling strong at number 1. Which of these things isn't actually in the Fruit of the Loom logo? Leaves, cornucopia, grapes, or an apple? A cornucopia, correct. Derelict, number 1. Peen, very close, number 2. How about a little rock, paper, scissors? What does Tony the Tiger's nose look like? Is it orange? Is it blue and black? Is it red? Or is it all black? Bye, L-dubs. What color is Pikachu's tail? Yellow with a black tip, yellow with a brown spot, all yellow. Peen at number 1. What is the name of this retailer? J.C. Penney, J.C. Penney, or J.C. Penney? What's the name of this popular HBO series? Sex and the City? Sex in the City or Sex on the City? Sex and the City. Ooh, Peen. Well, I'm kind of sad that you knew that. Mandela Effect brings the win for Peen, number 1. Peen, you're the winner. Everybody else is going to get a $5 gift certificate. If you want it, just send us a text at 573-319-1586. Derelict, you were so close. But Peen wins at number 1, a $25 gift certificate to the Grift Shop. Send us a text and enjoy it. Thank you guys so much for all you've done. I mean, you guys have been phenomenal. But listen, I can't promise you that anything that you buy today will make it in time for Christmas. I will say the coffee has a great track record of being very fast. The other items, apparel, no guarantees, okay? So here's what you do. Go to Amazon and buy our books, the children's books. Those will definitely be delivered in time for Christmas for your little ones. We've got our Grover the Note President book. We've got Calvin the Coolest President. Grover the Note President we wrote this year, as well as Javier Milei the Afuera President. Oh, still got to sing. You're right, actually. Damn. I forgot. Let's see what we can do. Let me put a little standby music while I choose. Okay, guys, you did it. You. We're not doing Last Christmas Wham by Wham. I don't care how much you ask. It's like 5 minutes long, so don't be mad, but Hey, take it easy, guys. It's Christmas, okay? How about a little Michael Bublé? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to sing this song. This might be bad. I was not even ready. If that should fulfill the satisfactions, the expectations, thank you guys so much for everything. I mean, it's been a good year. And you know what? Next year's going to be even better. Thanks for being a part of it. If you're a Peterson's Patriot and above, you guys are you're kings, you're gods. If you're below Peterson's Patriots, I'm going to call you on the phone and ask you to become one. So just get ready. If you see an 816, answer the phone because I will be calling you. And we're going to get as many people signed up to be Peterson's Patriots. That's the inner circle. And I just love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Damien. Thank you, Joni. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Megatron. Thank you, Saint Selma. Thank you, Peen. Yes, thank you, Peen. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget tonight, rumble.com/Liberty Tonight. Brian Piotr on the Liberty Watch at Liberty Tonight, 7 p.m. Central. Rumble.com/Liberty Tonight. Do your Christmas shopping at the Grift Shop at thegriftshop.com. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the Wake Up America show.